Hello, this is my intro slide. Everyone is going to get a copy of this, so we don't need to go through this, but I hate slides and my head of marketing didn't really listen to me, so there are a lot of slides here, but we're going to go through some of this quickly and I want to leave room for Q&A because I'm sure there's going to be questions. I'm doing something crazy. I'm going to do something crazy and focus on being more human in an AI driven world. I really want to focus on three things today. One, and this is to keep my ADHD brain on topic. One, calling and texting your customers. Two, the impact our app has on subscription brands. And then three, I want to leave room for Q&A. But first, before I jump in, who here has ever heard of Live Recover? Is there anybody actually using Live Recover here? Just curious. I think I saw some hands in the back. Okay.
It's the right bodies. They're all ready.
I love it. I love it. So everybody knows here that there's an abandoned checkout problem across the board in e-commerce. You know, whether it's 70, 60, 80%, depending on the brand, there's tons of reasons why customers every single day are getting hung up at checkout. Now, I'm always like very interested to understand brands that I work with, and there's so many levels of scales, right? You can't be texting or calling your customers when you're a nine-figure brand yourself as the founder. But when you're sub a million, sub 500,000, I think there's no better way to actually understand truly what's going on. You know, what are the friction points? What are people saying about new products, right? Um, Matt touched on this in the last one of the earlier presentations, and the playbook. I'm not going to sit here and say anything about anybody's playbook. Generally, we know there's email retargeting, there's traditional SMS retargeting, which is great, has a higher open rate, but you know, more or less, this is the stack, right? Whether it's Klaviyo you're using or another ESP or PostScript, Attentive, Klaviyo, there's a big gap in the funnel. And this is kind of where I definitely want to emphasize some focus is if you're not using real human beings to text customers that abandon cart or checkout today, you're literally leaving a substantial amount of revenue just sitting there at checkout. Legally, there's no way for you today to text customers that add items to their cart, reach checkout, actually enter their phone number at some point, whether it's Shop Pay, Apple Pay, they're actually entering their phone number at the delivery stage. There's no way for you, if they drop off, to engage with them, right? If they're not opted into an SMS list or an email list. With live agents, a real person actually texting your customers, you can legally do that. We can reach generally up to 8 to 10x more customers than you're able to actually text today. And, with an actual human having that conversation, whether you're selling a $20 spice or you're selling a $2,000 mattress, there's some basic questions passively that are often addressed with that human to human interaction, right? So we generally see, because this isn't a brand, you're not getting that traditional brand name dash, hey, here's my BOGO offer, do you want to buy? Here's a link back to your cart, right? The experience is different. We're going to touch on the experience. I'm going to show you some examples of like conversations. And I really apologize if any of you have seen any of my content on LinkedIn, IG, or Twitter. But we tend to have fun. It's called textual healing, where I kind of show different examples of different customers and how our agents have these conversations and drive conversions. But I think the biggest thing to emphasize is like this isn't just open rates. The response rates. The response rates that we see substantially higher than a traditional SMS flow, right? Which I'm not arguing with SMS flows, email flows, AI, right? Because I have a lot of brands. Everyone's trying to incorporate AI, and I love it. But again, live recovery you want to consider is Switzerland. We just sit right alongside the existing tech stack. All the other flows do their thing at the appropriate time, but when someone's left their phone number and isn't opted into those channels, that's when a real agent can look to recover that revenue. And I like touching on some brands here. Thinks makes me reminds me of Sherry. I don't know. Sherry's not here from Salt, but um, she's a local entrepreneur, really killing it. She does women's underwear as well. This brand, funny enough, they came to me initially. They onboarded us, had a successful trial. It was great. They're like, your agents are amazing. Now I want to try and do this in house. There's a lot of CX agents and different sales agents that we're taking on, and they were scaling quickly. Want to take this in house? I was like, great. 90 days later, Brendan came back. He's like, all right, total disaster internally. Messages are not being responded to. We're scaling too quickly. We're also worried about compliance risks, right? You never know who the heck you're talking to that left their phone number at checkout. What if they're on a do not call list, right? Compliance is the biggest thing in SMS, and especially with different law changes that are happening constantly. But Thinks is so unique because when they came back on, we were very detailed with them, right? Like the first goal that I have with any brand is we gotta, you know, prove results to you, right? You're like, what is this channel? Live agents? Don't I already do this with SMS today? I'm doing email, right? I'm capturing enough, right? But you really gotta understand, like, it's not a one size fits all, right? So generally, incrementality tests, holdout testing, A/B testing. It's a crawl, walk, run approach when implementing these agents. Now we could cast the net as wide as we want and try to recover anybody that abandons checkout that's qualified to leave their phone number, but I see it work best when it's, you know, I just onboarded a air purifier brand. I was thinking of Al, Blue Air, a mattress brand last week, and it's very detailed on how they want us to target a first-time customer versus a repeat customer, or a subscription customer versus a one-time purchaser, right? And we'll get into that because subscription, and that kind of is a good segue to Rick from Monster Bass. This is a subscription box fishing brand, and this is, I love clients that text me at midnight, call me on weekends, get very aggressive with negotiate. Those are the guys that really move the needle, right? Rick has always been someone from the beginning of Live Recovery 5 years ago. How can you use your agents more ways to help drive subscription revenue, right? Like, if I could use your agent to jump into a conversation when someone cancels their subscription, I'll pay you any amount of money you want. And so, you know, over time, right? And as we've gotten to the point of we can now develop this, we're now launching tons of different subscription use cases. And I think truly over the next year, call me crazy, almost any subscription brand on Shopify is going to want to test us. We actually just onboarded the Beard Club this week, Dose, some flagship brands for sure on Shopify. And I think it just speaks to the value, right? Like AI is not going anywhere. Prompts are going to get better. Most AI advance is going to, the advancements that's going to happen over the next 10 years are crazy, but it's never played more into our position. Brands are dying for authenticity. They're dying for trust. And I mean, what better way to build trust than like literally you have your own concierge, right? This isn't some campaign you're responding to. When someone interacts with one of our agents, that it looks like it's just an extension of your brand, that's like their own concierge. I only shop at like a couple times a year at Nordstrom or Bloomingdale's. I hit up my guy Nick. I'm like, yo Nick, do you have that cologne in, or you have those shorts or whatever? He's like, no man, but I'm gonna have this in 2 weeks. Why don't you come back? When they text back that number, it's a dedicated number for your brand. It's different. It is different than your traditional SMS number because it needs to be legally, right? A big nuance that everyone should take away here is what we fundamentally do is separate legally to what your automations and anything you're doing on AI or SMS or email, right? Now, in terms of like what this looks like in action, so I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'd love it if it did, but anybody that's a brand here and they wanted to install this, whether it's 2 weeks, an hour from now, we're a Shopify app, right? So you can get going roughly 10, 20 minutes. Obviously, we can be very catered and white glove support, make sure we onboard you exactly the way you want. Big thing is brand guidelines, right? How are our agents going to speak intelligently to your brand? How are we truly going to speak better than your own CX or sales agents, right? Our goal is to sell. We drive anywhere from a 5 to 10% top line incremental revenue impact for any brand that uses us. And that's our goal. But if the agents don't know the answer to something, or it's better to pass back to your team, we'll pass that off in a smooth either CX pass off, or we pass it to a direct issue escalation feature, which we call on Live Recover, and they just route all conversations to a dedicated inbox. Um, but in terms of once you 10-minute install, you have the compliant language that we put you at the phone field, and we can go through this on a separate call. The any time a phone number is left at checkout, right? It's been 30 minutes. The majority of people that leave that phone number are not going to be opted into your existing lists. Even if they are, we can still text them. But let's assume the majority of people we initially hit up are not opted in to your existing list. This is an example of a conversation flow of what you would receive, right? So it's not, like I mentioned, brand name dash, right? It's not a short code. Everyone knows when they're getting that, or at least I do. It's like, oh, okay, another automated text. It looks and feels like it's coming from one of your friends, one of us in this room, because it is a real person. And all of the initial message that goes out, right? Every single message is sent from a human. Legally, that's how it needs to be. Of course, we have ways internally from efficiency standpoint to, as brands scale and volume scales, right? During Black Friday, Cyber Monday, like our agents are ninjas, as I call them. They scour the website. They have ChatGPT, they have the brand guidelines, they have some AI prompts, but still a human sending every single message, and they're never going to misrepresent the brand, as I mentioned. So this flow, right? Lots of questions can happen, right? And it's so interesting to see, like when I have brands come on, because every brand's always like, okay, yep, okay. And then it's always so interesting to see the feedback when they're actually reviewing the transcripts. So aside from all the money we're going to make, you right, I could talk about that all day. I argue the single reason why every brand should use us is understanding why these customers aren't buying in the transcripts. And what we're able to do is provide sentiment analysis. So any conversation that one of our agents has with one of your customers, we'll provide back to you on a report, weekly, monthly, however you want that. And it gives you sentiment analysis, right? And it's unique. I have brands constantly on a weekly basis telling me success stories like, wow, I didn't realize we just installed an exit intent pop-up, and I saw that your agents were having a bunch of conversations with customers that were having issues checking out, right? I mean, these are also things we can address in real time, um, and you'd be shocked at things that brands aren't aware of in real time. In terms of, here's another case study. Happy to share this with you. Jewelry brands. I mean, when you think of like who are ideal ICP for something like this, right? To test live agents or live recover, of course, I'm biased. Any brand should be testing this in some capacity, whether you're doing it yourself or through like a platform like ours. But jewelry brands, um, subscription brands, of course, high ticket items, mattress, furniture, right? But and even low ticket brands, right? It's really about how what's the best way to effectively implement live agents for your specific brand. And it's so nuanced. I mean, we work with really anybody. Someone selling firearms, apparel, beverages. And it's so unique to see how different brands want to leverage us. Some brands don't ever even want our agents to provide a discount. They're like, hey, I want you to be specifically education based, maybe trying to get membership programs or trying to use our agents to upsell a customer into being an SMS subscriber, right? So like maybe your next thought, hey, oh, you had a great experience, right? The agent had a great experience with the customer. A day later or an hour later, hey, also if you're ever interested, on your next purchase, you get 20% off if you subscribe. Here's a link, right? Um, and in terms of subscription use cases, today, right? All fun stuff, cancellation triggers, win back. I mean, how cool is it going to be when you could potentially test an actual real person jumping in to try and save that subscriber that's leaving versus sending them a generic survey, email, or text that everyone does? I'm also very interested when brands test our post-purchase capabilities, because right now, if you install this today and you're using us, we have access to anybody that's ever bought from you in the past. So if they're not opted in to SMS, we can retarget them to try and drive them back to site. And that's an interesting use case that a lot of brands have been using. And it speaks volumes to a lot of the subscription brands we work with. Carnivore Snacks, Heart and Soil Supplements, Dose, as I mentioned earlier. when a brand's on live recover for more than 6 months, we notice their LTV substantially increases, roughly 5 or 6x. And we're not shocked by that. We also see an increase in AOV around 20 to 25%. You can actually use our agents, in ways to instantly upsell when they're in that conversation. Or if someone bought a specific product, maybe you want to set up our agent to follow up with that customer in a day or two or a week, to offer them a complimentary product, right? In terms of, these are just some stats. I don't like that one. Uh, this is really kind of going through the setup, like I mentioned. And I like this slide because, again, this is kind of the overarching theme, right? You guys are doing everything today, right? Email, SMS, incorporating AI, incorporating aliens probably to get anonymous visitors. I don't know. But you're likely not doing P2P SMS today, peer-to-peer SMS. And so I would love the opportunity to test live agents with you. I'd also love your feedback on any reservations why you wouldn't want to test something like this. I will provide this to you guys as Matt mentioned, but I did want to leave room for Q&A because kind of flew through that and more interested to kind of get some bones going here. So don't be shy. Would love to hear some questions.
Self-serving. Who's got the best abandoned cart like offer, most aggressive, so I can know who to go?
I'm like one of those terrible users that, I mean, I barely subscribe. I barely shop on brands, but GLD is aggressive. And I like my chains, and they're like classic 50% off, 60% off if you're a first-time buyer. So if you guys like jewelry, I got you. I mean, it's crazy. Any jewelry brand. We work with Jackson, Anna Louise. So women, men, whatever you need. David?
So you've got real people engaging over SMS. Are the people online recovered enabled agentically by AI? Still engaging directly as humans to peers?
We definitely, from like an internal infrastructure perspective, have AI efficiency capabilities, but once an agent in a conversation is sending every single message themselves, like think about on when you get on Uber, maybe you get like a little prompt like, hey, I'll be there 5 minutes or whatever. They have those suggested replies as well, but in a lot of cases, these are very nuanced questions, right? Like, and they're responding in real time. So generally our SLA is like a 1 to 3 minute response time once we're in that interaction with an actual shopper.
It sounds like you might be explaining something really interesting, which is where that human agent is able to help you how the knowledge is faster.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be shocked. Like every brand is always gonna, we want every brand to feel like Gucci, right? Like everything is the brand identity. Like if your agent said one wrong word in a conversation, like that could jeopardize the customer forever, right? But in terms of initially when a brand installs, we'll scrape their site for FAQs. So we'll build out a repository already for our agents, shipping policies, return policies, whatever. And of course, they have access to ChatGPT and whatever to build out as well. But once a brand's actually live, that's where the juice really comes. Like over a couple weeks, you'd be shocked at what we're able to build out in that knowledge base. A lot of things they're not even considering for their own internal agents or teams, right? Because we do have, I love my cold plunge brands because a lot of times, like they want to start with their own sales agents and not using us. Maybe they have some adjacent products they want to use us on. Then they see how well we're performing for the like shower head, for example, for this one brand I work with in Miami. They saw, and now they want to have us start taking over for a specific portion of the traffic on cold plunge. Anybody that orders one of their larger cold plunges, which is like $3,500 or more, they want us to talk to those first and then have their other sales agents talk to anybody under 3,500. So there's a lot of different ways you can really be tailored on like who we're segmenting to versus casting the net as wide as you want.
That's what I'm curious about. So it sounds like you guys are building up a lot of knowledge about what's working, what people are asking about, how you're helping them. is that loop then extended to the brand and other experiences outside of live recovery? That's really important.
Outside of live, inside of live recover right now, it's positioned in a what we call an insights feature. So we provide them all the feedback and sentiment analysis from conversations we're having. That could be exported and pushed to whatever, but um, if you're asking if like we have a connection to like another platform for those insights, no. Yeah, yeah, but they have access to all those insights within our platform. Plus, they have access to every single transcript with a customer. No, thank you. I appreciate that.
And what revenue size or order volume size does it make sense to implement? Meaning, I'm sure there's probably when it's variable cost, it can always make sense when you're smaller, but there's fixed costs or implementation costs or like, where do you see that really where you guys can come in and make a big difference?
Yeah, no, that's a great question because I'm always going to say, well, first off, we'll give a free trial to anybody, and I have so much confidence in the platform working that you can take an extended free trial, right? In a couple days, if a brand has good volume, like you're doing, a decent amount of web traffic, over 100,000 monthly site visitors, et cetera, like you're gonna have volume, abandonment volume. There's gonna be a lot of eyeballs that we can reach out to, and so the more traffic you're getting to site, right, the more opportunity we can to reach out to because the phone numbers will be left, and then of that, we'll recover generally 15 to 20%. But even for like someone that's, I we work with anybody, like someone close to $1 billion, also someone just getting off the ground pre-revenue. Think about it for those guys, they're awning to understand what their customers are saying. So even if they only have 5 abandoned checkouts in a month, and we only reach out to 4 of them, and we only recover 1, that's customer they wouldn't have, and they're not paying us anything other than for conversion. We don't charge per SMS or anything like that. We eat those costs. So we'll only charge when we actually converted the sale, okay, they bought. And then if not, they still have access to all those insights, and then we can scale with them, right? So yeah, generally, if you're not getting a ton of abandonment volume, depending on your AOV, you might want to wait until you get some scale. But I'm very flexible. I'll give for anybody in this room, I'll give custom pricing and really anything to alleviate any concerns that you guys would have of testing. Because like margins are big, right? I mean, we know in this world it's tough to run businesses efficiently and profitably. And so, last year with tariff issues, a lot of things are going on. Like I can get very creative because obviously I also am very sensitive to someone selling furniture, someone selling firearms, someone selling apparel have different margins, crazy different margins. So the unit economics need to make sense. As long as we're a profitable lift, this should always make sense. That's a great question, though. David, are we doing B2B right now? No, we want to get in there. There's a lot of opportunity, but right now we're really just focused because there's so much TAM and opportunity with Shopify alone, let alone e-commerce. We're leaning in there, but I also invest in real estate, and I have buddies in real estate, and they're like dying. They're like, how can we use Live Recover to help us convert more of all these I got forms filled out, blah blah blah. I'm getting all these phone numbers. I want you to follow up with. So there's definitely opportunity for us to tap in other markets for sure.